Hey listeners, and welcome to the beginning of the second year here at We Read It One Night, the podcast where two sisters invite you to join the romance revolution. Today, we're doing our very first mafia romance, and honestly, we are really surprised that it took so long to do it. We are reading Run, POSY RUN by Cate C. This book is absolutely bonkers. It features a very sexy hero who may or may not be a toddler, a heroine who, you guessed it, likes to run, and a whole bunch of delicious chess puns. Don't forget to leave us a rating and review, and enjoy the show.
Fender bender recently, so that was exciting. The damage to my car, so someone hit us like going really slow, like it was not fast at all, but like
rear-ended us.
Yeah, rear-ended us, but the whole, and like, you know, took responsibility, like everything was fine, but the whole back of the bumper of my car like came off, was driving on the highway. Our brother had to duct tape it up. But the damage is like literally more than double what the car's worth, and their insurance, I mean, they're paying, like the insurance is paying, and I'm like, I don't want to buy. The thing is, I couldn't buy a new car like that I would want for that much. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, I want it fixed, and I don't even know if it's an option to, like, I don't know. I feel like mom and dad would always say like, "Oh, we'll just take the money," like instead of actually fixing it. Like that's what we always do as a family. Like anytime there's a little dent and like insurance pays, they just keep the money. But I don't know how that works, because I don't think I could just tell their insurance like, "Hey, send me a check for thousands of dollars," instead of actually fixing the car. Like I don't think that would fly. I don't want to do that anyway, but like
it's exciting.
Insane.
Yeah, we had to drive all the way from Nashville to Houston with a duct taped car, and it was really like humbling, because I will admit that I definitely judged people before, you know, that I've judged people for like driving with duct tape cars unfairly.
Well, no, but even I'm currently judging people. Like I have seen more cars with like missing bumpers here than ever anywhere else. And I don't know like what's going on. Like
Houston drivers are
terrible.
Manic or something. Like I swear to God, there's something in the water. It's the pickup drivers, they like cut you off
for no reason. Like, they're always speeding.
Were complaining. It was funny because like right before, like the day before, you were like, New York drivers are the worst, like driving in New York City, especially like right out of the Lincoln Tunnel. You were like, it's the worst like driving experience I've ever had. And then we drove in Houston.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I mean, people like, the thing is like, people are like aggressive in Newark, but I guess like because everyone's on the same page, like they're better at it. They like don't get in accidents. But like here, like there's literally so many accidents, like so many cars just like driving around. Maybe people don't have insurance. Like I don't know. Like maybe I see, that's the thing. I don't know if there's actually more cars getting fucked up here, or if like people are just fixing their cars less, because there's no inspection here. You know, like in the Northeast, I think for the most part, like in most states, you have to get your car inspected every year, and it has to pass, or else like you can't drive. You know, like you'll get in trouble. You can't renew your registration. But here, I don't think you have to do that. So maybe people are just like not bothering, but I don't know. It's so weird.
No, but like I've never been cut off more times.
Yeah.
By like heavily speeding giant pickup trucks.
Like what are you doing? Like for what? And the highways are just so chaotic. Like
they don't make any sense. I don't know how anyone like ever gets around without Google Maps in Houston.
Even with Google Maps.
Anyway, if you live in Houston, let me know whether your driving experience is also that horrible.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of walking in Houston, so my plan was to walk. I'm honestly like not sure if it's safe, like especially in the winter when I'm gonna have to be doing it after night. Yesterday, I went to hot yoga, which just like, what evil, sadistic, first of all, hot yoga, period, horrible. I was about to rant about like how there's no health benefits and it's just to make you feel like you're doing more, but I looked it up and apparently there are some health benefits. But there's no health benefit when I'm literally sliding on the mat. Like I haven't been sweatier than that in years. And in Houston, like the one benefit was that when I went back outside into the 89-degree heat, it felt like a little bit cool. It felt cold because the room was hotter. But I wasn't really paying. It was like pretty much a straight shot to get back to my apartment. So I wasn't really paying that much attention. And I ended up like a block over than I was supposed to be. And it was like so shady. I was followed by 2 different people. Like,
oh
yeah, it's so
no.
It's so bad. It's like just. I don't know.
Get some pepper spray.
I did get pepper spray, but
I carried around with you.
No, I had it with me, but like, yeah, no, not ideal.
Yeah. Speaking of dangerous situations, this book that we're doing today is about very dangerous people doing dangerous things all the time to each other.
It's completely whack.
It's our first. We've been talking about, I feel like I bring up mafia romance all the time and we haven't done one. And this is our first mafia romance. And it's like actually mafia. Like we just did Twisted Love and that was just like bad man does crimes and like is a dick. Yeah. This is like they're in the mafia. Like he's a capo or whatever the fuck. And so it's POSY Run by Cate C. Wells. And it is delicious. I love everything about this book. This was like, I had like a mafia romance hiatus because like at the beginning of my romance reading, I like read a shit ton of like Kindle Unlimited. Like that was like my summer of sleeplessness where I was just like reading like all these like weird Kindle Unlimited books like in the dead of night, and a lot of them were mafia romance. And then I didn't read mafia romance for a long time. And then I read this one and I was like, I'm back, baby. Like, mafia romance is sucking me back in. I remember why I like it so much, even though it's super fucked up.
I mean, I remember you talking about this book and you were like, yeah, he's a psychopath. Like, he's literally a psychopath. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But like, the problem with that is that the only reason this book works is because he's like a psychopath for everyone but her. Like, she turns him into not a psychopath. So well, like, for the record,
what is it, like a sociopath? Like,
no,
it's
sure,
like,
but he defines that as like you can only feel feelings for one person. So he's a psychopath for everyone but her
and their child and their eventual child.
Sure, but for the record, like it's not gonna work with a psychopath. Like it's not. This isn't like a lesson in like how.
Interestingly, no. Okay, so I mean, listen. Again, this book. I don't think we need to like explain that this is not a model of a healthy relationship, but I did see this. It was on YouTube and I'm completely forgetting the name of the channel or whatever, but it came up. It may have come up around the time when I was like reading this book because I was like looking up the definition of like psychopath and sociopath or whatever. So like, you know, the Google was like, "Ooh, want to watch a video?" And it was this girl who was a psychopath. And she like vlogged about her relationship with her boyfriend. And she's like, yeah, I'm in therapy. And like, we have a lot of like coping things. And like, it's a mental health condition that I just have to like we just have to like work around, which I thought was really interesting because I feel like you only ever see psychopaths in like the context of like this person's a murderer, but it was she was just like, hi, like she was like, yeah, it was just like an interesting take because I feel like, you know,
it
is like a mental health. Like it is a mental condition,
but it's like incurable. Well, I remember reading I forget it was either an article or about some study, but it was basically like this rehabilitation program for boys diagnosed with like I forget what is it actually called. It's like antisocial personality disorder. But basically, yeah, it's like impossible to like be cured, quote unquote. But like basically what they would teach them, like I think one of the big hallmarks is that you're not as motivated by like punishment. I think your amygdala is smaller or something, so it takes more free, right? But you are motivated by like your life will be better if you do like this. So it's basically like drill it in that like if you behave a certain way, you will get benefits. And like but then they were like following one of the people like as a case study, and they were like, yeah, but then like he left and he was like one of our best outcomes, but like we got back in touch with him and he's like serially cheating on his wife and like in court now. So like I don't know.
Yeah, so this is the man. His name is what's his name? Dario.
It's such a stupid
I was calling him Darius in my notes for like the first half of this book. And I like finally like I read this book, right? Because this book isn't, at least in any way that we could access, this book wasn't available on audio. So we both read it. And I read like a physical copy. So like I don't know why the fuck I was like so like why my brain was like completely writing the wrong name down for like the first like 50 pages. Yeah, but Dario, insert Italian last name here, is a mafia man. He's the numbers guy. He like makes them millions because
which is
like
so
super
dumb.
Smart. It's really fucking great. I love it.
See, they're in the mafia, so like it would have been totally on brand for him to have like inside information of some sort. You know, like then it would have been plausible. Like if he's just I don't know,
really good at running the markets.
You can't. That doesn't make sense. But you can't. That's not a thing.
Yes, it does, Rachel.
I guess the thing is he does literally like shift around millions of dollars like artificially like
he like short stocks all the time.
Well, that's not illegal. I just mean like
but I'm saying like he's not like just
orders.
investing. Yeah,
well, I know, but still, whatever. Yeah. Anyway,
he's the numbers guy.
Suspend disbelief on that one. And he's also a bespoke suit, not a tracksuit kind of guy, which I really feel like just tells you everything you need to know about that world. Like that, this is the dichotomy we're going with. Like you're either a bespoke suit or a tracksuit kind of guy. Like you know what it is.
You know
like,
exactly.
The only thing is that it's giving like Russian mob more than Italian. But
okay, so we determined that they're in basically a fictional version of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
They're
in Pennsylvania.
Yes,
but the way she describes this, they're in like a small city that was like known for steel, and I was like, so it's Pittsburgh
for sure. The only thing that made me question that a little bit is that she talks about people going to the shore, right?
So like Erie. The Great Lakes.
No, that's not the shore. The shore is the Jersey Shore. That's the only shore. People could still go to the Jersey Shore. It's just 6 hours away. Like that's fine. And that would make sense. And also because I was originally thinking that they were like on the Jersey Shore. So I was like, why? She was talking about one of her boyfriends being away for the summer. So actually it does add up that he would be like too far away to like see her during the summer if he's like 6 hours away, you know? So whatever. Yeah.
So the main, our girl is Posy, in case the title didn't make that clear. And I just, so Run, Posy, Run. I mean, I haven't confirmed this, and I don't know whether Cate C. Wells ever has either, but there's a German movie from like late 90s, early 2000s. The German title is Lola Rent, but the American title is Run, Lola, Run.
Nice.
And I watched it in German class, and all I remember about this movie, it's like a thriller. I think there's maybe some like time travel element, like multiple timelines. Like all I remember from this movie is this like woman with like bright red hair just like running constantly with like all those like, you know, German early 2000s, late 90s movie effects. Yeah. And so like every time like Posy like runs in this movie, like in the beginning, we get an explosive start. Like basically she spends like the first 50 pages of this book running away from the mafia. And so every time she was running, I was just picturing like Run, Lola, Run.
She is blonde though, for the record. Something I will say, this whole book is in present tense, which is, you know, keeps you on the edge of your seat, as it were.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that. See, that's the thing. It's like I really just don't notice that kind of stuff anymore. Like some people get really like
I would never remember
picky about it. And before we get started, in case it wasn't obvious, this book has a shit ton of trigger warnings, particularly towards the end. There's like some pretty graphic violence. There's violence throughout. There's like intimate partner violence. There's dubious consent. Like there's a bunch of murders. There's a bunch of like, look up more details, but it's a mafia romance. I would say this is like, this is not mafia light, you know. This is not dark romance light. This is like firmly dark romance. I read darker, I read lighter. I'd say it's like pretty like the natural average,
which frankly is what dark romance needs to be, because if it's like, I don't know, it's like you have to be in a completely different world. Like the thing that bothered me about, I keep forgetting the name of the fucking
Twisted Love
is that like they were just like regular Joe schmoes, but like also like had all this shit going on. And I'm like, why? Like just chill the fuck out. Whereas here I'm like, all right, like this is mafia world. This is like, this is, you know what you're getting. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. For Posy though, it's not a lot because she was born and raised in a connected family. Her lack of curiosity is genetic. Like she's like, don't ask, don't tell. Like I don't need to know.
Like I ain't no snitch.
Yeah.
So we get literally, I wrote like my first like note for this book is just like explosive start with like 20 exclamation points, because it's just like Cate C. Wells like steps on the gas like within 2 pages. She's like, fuck exposition, fuck dialogue. Like this bitch is escaping from the mafia immediately.
It's funny because I currently have that song Gas Pedal stuck in my head because I used it in a TikTok about a gas pedal. Like you know, do you remember? It was from like maybe 10 years ago. It's like gas pedal, make your ass fall off. Slow down, grab the wall, wiggle like you're trying to make your ass fall off. Gas, but wait, I'll play it. Hold on.
No. I don't know that song.
You don't? It's totally like a wait.
Grab the wall, wiggle Okay. Wait, stop. Yeah. Okay. I know that song. I think it just was really impossible for you to accurately communicate it because you don't have that man's voice.
I know.
Stop playing it close.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yeah. It's really like you just can't
slow it out.
No, but it's even.
I know.
You can't do it. You can't. Only that man can sing that song.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so Posy's bopping on home from the mall. She's like, gotta get dolled up for my man and make dinner. And then Dario is like, hey, bitch, get on in here. And he basically accuses her of cheating because there's a video that's been sent to all of the mafia dudes that is Posy and in reality, what is like a boyfriend from like years ago, and she's like a teenager. Yeah. Them doing anal, like she clearly doesn't like it. Like it's like bad news.
Her hair is a different color, and he's like,
but Dario assumes he's wearing a wig. Yeah, it's basically like Dario just gets so it's like very obvious that like the timestamp has been faked, that this is a video from a long time ago, and like Posy's trying, like she's like, it's like super like, when I tell you, I was like, especially the first time I read this, like I was like shaking, like my hands were like sweating. I was like, oh my God, like this is like, he's gonna kill her. I was like, there's no other way out of this, like, because he like pulls her into his lap and he's like holding her around the waist and she's trying to get away and he's like, no, watch the video. And it's like, oh, he's mad. I was like, fuck, how, like,
he like throws her on the ground. I thought her wrist was broken, and we didn't say, but she like thought he was gonna propose. Like she had found like a ring in his like sock drawer the night before.
Well, because he was gonna propose. Like that was his plan, and then like this video goes around. So essentially, one of her not the ex-boyfriend in the video, but one of her other ex-boyfriends, who's like in the mafia and is like the worst. You know, even in mafia terms, is the worst. It's like sent that around to like just like texted it to like everybody. So like everybody has seen this video.
You know what I just realized is like I still don't really know the motive for that. Like it's not really clear. I was waiting for it. It doesn't really add up.
Because he's too happy with Posy, basically.
It's so convoluted though. Yeah, I guess. I thought there was gonna be something bigger, like something more obvious. Like, I don't know.
He's too happy. He's a fucking simp.
Okay, here's the thing. So Posy and Dario's relationship, even before this, like Posy like is so happy with it, but it's like actually pretty shitty. Because I don't know, she just says all these things. She's like, oh, I'm like wearing a t-shirt and yoga pants. Like he hates when I wear that. Like whenever he catches me wearing them, he like asks if I need him to increase my allowance. He made her stop working. He didn't make her, but like, he like convinced her to stop working at her job and like become completely dependent on him. He also got her a diamond and gold watch for our third date because I had a habit of being late, which is like the most passive aggressive shit I've ever heard.
I know, but you know that it was definitely like actually just because he wanted to buy her a watch, but he could, he can't be soft. He can't like show that he has emotions. Like secretly, he doesn't even realize
he doesn't have emotions until later on.
One other thing that he did for her was he replaced all the flowers in his garden with posies when he was trying to get her to move in. And if that isn't the biggest simp move you've ever heard, I don't know what is. Like,
what do posies even look like? Let's see.
I don't know, but
they look
he
like
also
roses,
likes playing chess. Like that's why they're together, is because Posy's like really fucking good at chess and like all like basically like all games. So he really likes to play games with her, and he likes it. She's like the only one who can beat him, basically. So like she's basically the only one that like, well, not at this point, but like later on, it becomes clear that like she's basically the only one he respects because like she's the only one that like can keep up with him.
Yeah,
basically.
And so Posy's whole thing, as we said before, like her family was connected, which means they're in the mob. If you're not hip with the lingo, as it were,
her father was a made man.
yeah. But then her uncle. Okay, and this really bothered me throughout. So her uncle, it seems like, was stealing from the mob, but throughout they call him like a rat and also a thief. Like they use it as synonyms, like rat and thief. And I'm like, those are not the same thing. Like I feel like a rat is like talking to the cops. That's what a rat is.
It's a snitch.
Or maybe snitch. A rat and a snitch are synonyms. Or maybe even like somehow like betraying confidence is not just like stealing is like stealing. Like maybe if you were stealing money to give it to the cops, then you're like still a rat. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. But like that's just whatever for me. But the uncle obviously got caught. What?
I'm looking up the definition of rat.
rat means a snitch.
Oh, it is. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, of course I'm right.
Someone
That's like
who turns
OG.
informant snitches their squeals after having been pinched.
Yeah, rats.
Yeah,
squeal.
they do use it in extreme.
Yeah. But anyway, that's basically the death knell for the whole family. Like, what's the main guy's name? The like the actual capo or whatever.
Oh fuck, I did
Vincenzo or something. I don't know.
No. It's like Ranelli.
Oh, Ranelli, something like that. Yeah, I wrote it down somewhere too, but I think anyway, he takes it out. He like doesn't believe that her dad, whose brother it was, like didn't know, and he like beats him within an inch of his life and like makes him work a menial job. Like, and then when he dies.
No, he does. He believes that he didn't know.
Yeah.
He lets him live.
Finally,
but basically,
right.
their
whole family's out. Yeah, and then her mom like dies of cancer young because she doesn't get any like money. They can't afford treatments and like they don't get any help. And basically Posy like goes from being super popular in like middle school to being like a total outcast from all her friends because of the shit like in high school. So she spent the whole rest of her life like trying to get back and like have friends again. And like part of the way she does that is by just like, you know, sort of she's like lost basically her whole family. So she just like, and her dad never liked her to begin with. So she like chases love or whatever from like whichever mafia man will take her. And she's just like willing to do whatever.
She's like a people pleaser. She lets people like step all over her. Yeah. No, he is like, get the fuck out. And I love that Posy, like, she has approximately 2 seconds of like, oh my God, no, like this relationship. And then she's like, hang on. Fuck this guy. Like, what the fuck? She's immediately like, fuck you. And she's like, I might have been named after a flower, but I don't look like one.
Yeah, she's literally like, I thought he was a gentleman, a shy genius who needs a girl like me to bring him out of his shell. But actually, he's an asshole, a dangerous asshole. I'm out.
She's like, fuck him. And because she's also like, hang on, like he made me like textbook dependent on him. Like he made me quit my job. He like, you know, did all that. Like, so like when he kicks her out, like she has nothing. And he makes her give back the watch and the diamond earrings. And she thinks he's going to kill her. So she just like hands them over. But like she's like, what the like fuck this guy.
Yeah.
So he kicks her out and he's basically like I don't ever want to see you again or like I'm gonna kill you. But he says Capeesh.
Yep.
And I cackled audibly when I was just like Cate C. Wells is like, listen, like I'm gonna kind of ignore the fact that they're like the Italian mob for like the rest of this book, like it's just gonna be the neutral mob, but I have to throw in a Capeesh like at the beginning just to set the scene. And I was like, it worked. I'm fully immersed now. Oh, but as she's kicking him out, also she's like, oh man, like I'll never get to like pick up the bespoke backgammon set that I bought.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I was like, you guys are such nerds.
I know she lost her Honda. I know you already said that, but that was like a huge blow to me personally. They like traded in her Honda. God.
She doesn't even have a car.
At least this book, like everything bad that happens is like totally called out. Even if it's swept under the rug, but like, you know.
It's acknowledged.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ray, the driver / Dario's servant / friend / like old man
Posy
mentor.
Simp.
Yeah, Posy simp, drops Posy off in the center of town, like right in the middle of mafia territory. And he's like, listen, like, you know that you have to get out of town, right? Because like now that you and Dario are broken up, like you're a loose end. Like Ranelli and like the mafia guys are going to take you out.
Yeah. And I was like, why would they suddenly care? But I guess it's because like she's been living with Dario, who's like big in the organization. And they think she might have learned something. She knows like, already hate her family. Yeah. But like, does she really? I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
Posy has got to, you guessed it, run. And she immediately like jumps into action. Like she's like drops her phone in the trash can. She's like, because Dario has used Find My Phone when he's too lazy to go looking for her in the house. Drops in the trash can, and then she goes to see what.
Can you just turn that off?
Nevea.
Wait, you don't remember the name Nevea and how big of a...
No, I do. I just forgot.
Okay, that was so wild to see that. I don't. Now that I just said it, I don't know if I've ever like heard it said out loud. I thought it was Nevea. Yeah, Nevea. Nevea, for the uninitiated, is heaven backwards, and it was like such a like. I don't know if this was like a thing in the wider media, or if it was just something that like Rush Limbaugh, etc., was like loved to make fun of in the early 2000s, but they were like, oh my God, this is the dumbest name ever, like so stupid, heaven backwards, meh. like it's a fine name, but it's weird. It's weird seeing it as like not a meme. Nothing wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. It's weird. It's weird. It's especially weird seeing an adult character named Nevaeh, because I think of it as
it's always like a baby.
You're perpetually the like poor baby is getting roasted on like fucking talk radio, conservative talk radio in 2005. Anyway, Nevaeh is just a true chaos agent. I love her. She's like the only loyal person that Posey has in her life at this point, despite the fact that she isn't really that good at being tight-lipped, as we'll later find out, but she never does anything.
Basically, she's like, listen, you can't stay here for long because like they're definitely going to shoot me too if they find you here, but here's my ID, here's all the cash I have, get out of town. Posey's like, great. So she hops on a Greyhound out like and takes it to the last stop.
Yeah.
And then she like hitches a ride. Posey is now hiding out in this like hole in the mountain, like rundown town in the middle of nowhere.
And can I just say that up until this point, I was still like somewhat questioning, not totally sure that Dario was going to be the love interest in this book, up until the last line of chapter 1, which was, "I'm not doing a damn thing for Dario Volpe ever again." Which solidified that she will definitely be doing damn things for Dario Volpe. Volpe?
I don't know.
Like, I wasn't sure if she was going to meet some, like, I don't know, someone.
No.
But yeah.
No,
obviously not.
No, he's the love interest. Not. She also learns from Nevaeh, heaven backwards, that like all the like quote unquote thoughtful gifts that Dario has been buying her, and like all anniversaries he's remembered and everything, have actually been this like very competent woman named Carolyn who like works at the club and buys the gifts and like remembers the anniversaries for all the mafia like wives and girlfriends. I was like, honestly, like Carolyn sounds great. Like I mean, I know that's like a shock to like find out, but like,
how did everyone know
that
her?
Great side hustle.
How did everyone know that but her? Like, I don't understand.
She doesn't have any friends.
Oh my god.
Also, I want to ask this, and I want to like send out the call to our listeners as well, because I couldn't figure this out. So she makes some sort of like internal, like in her mind, she like makes some sort of reference to what's clearly like the Truman Show, which is that movie with like Jim Carrey, where like he's like a guy that's been unknowingly filmed his whole life. And then she also makes a reference to a movie about a woman who gets sent to an Amish farm for witness protection. And I don't know what that movie is. And I would like to know what that movie is.
I feel like mom would know, to be honest. It sounds like something from the 80s. Like,
yeah, 100%. I'm assuming it's like Truman Show era, which wasn't the 80s, but like, yeah.
Are we sure it's not just like something that happened in Posy's real life? Because she's like connected.
No, because it was right next to the Truman Show. And they were like in the same paragraph. So I was like, okay, this is like some sort of like reference that I'm supposed to get. So if anyone like recognizes that plot, whether it's like a movie or a show or a book, because it could also be like an Amish romance, I don't know, let me know, because I want to take in that media, whatever form it comes in.
Do you think that people who are like, you know, connected, as it were, like, how many of them do you think actually enjoy and read like media like that are about?
I think a lot. Maybe not like the made men who like constantly have to be bopping around, but like the kids and like the wives and girlfriend who are sort of like living.
Though. I don't know if it'd be too annoying, like if it's not accurate, you know.
What?
Wait, what do you think we're talking about?
Whether people like in the mafia can absorb that kind of media.
No, not whether they can. I'm saying, do you think they enjoy it? Like, do you think it's like the same as like, imagine if you're Amish and you like read an Amish romance, you're probably like, what is this shit?
Oh, you mean whether people in the mafia read mafia romance particularly?
Yeah. Or like shit about the movie.
I thought you were just saying whether they like watch movies anyway.
No, I'm sure they watch movies.
Well, that's what I was like. I was like, what do you mean?
Like, I wonder if it'd be too cringy. I feel like it would be too cringy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Okay, so my second question for you. So putting out to the listeners, if anyone knows of that Amish thing, let me know. My second question for you, Rachel, and also to our listeners, but you're the only one who can answer right now. If you were being chased by the mob, hypothetical situation, you're being chased by the mob. You're in Posy's situation. Yeah. You got to get away from the mob. Yeah. How would you do it? Because Posy comes up with a game plan in like 5 seconds. Like, it does not, like, she immediately, she's out of town within like a half hour.
Oh, for sure.
So like, I'm like, girl, like, how does she, I mean, she's a really good at like strategy and like that's like why she's so good at games. But I was like, have you been like secretly thinking about this the whole time?
Right.
Like,
yeah,
how
I
did
have
you
no
run
idea.
away from the mafia?
I don't know,
Rachel?
because it's really hard for me to imagine a situation where I like literally have no money. Like, I think what she did is really smart. I would go farther away though. I think, like, I think she doesn't go far enough. She doesn't even leave the state.
Well, she can't. She doesn't have the money.
Yeah, I know.
So she basically
That's
ends
true.
up in that
Yeah,
small
that's
town
true.
because she like runs out of money, and so she has to
Yeah.
like save up to like so she can like
That's true.
bounce.
And she's like not able to save. Yeah. Yeah. I honestly have no idea. Like, cause I think about that. I actually think about that all the time. Like when people,
How you
I
would
don't know,
escape
like,
the mob.
not to like, well, no. I don't know. Any like bad war refugee situation, people would be like, well, how do people not know what's happening? Like I would just leave right away. And I always think about like that. Can you like, I think through the logistics of that. Like, what are you going to do? Like literally leave all your possessions? Like, how are you going to get your money? How are you logistically going to start over? Because it's so hard. Like, I don't know. Maybe I should have a game plan.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Cause really it's like, yeah, I don't know how Posy's
I don't know how the fuck she does
Posy
it,
is a gamer. She's a strategist at heart. She's a schemer. Yeah. Whereas I enjoy chess, but I'm very bad at it.
Yeah, Rachel loves chess. She plays online chess all the time.
How would you do it?
Well, I feel like that makes sense. Like I feel like I would go somewhere because we're in Pennsylvania too. So if I have no money, so I can't go very far, I would go somewhere like probably like Pennsylvania or something, what she does, like middle Pennsylvania, where I think I would be more likely to be able to get a job without like an ID, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then like save up and then just go live like in the middle of nowhere for the rest of my days.
I mean, could you try to like get on a train and like, try to avoid the ticket operator as long as possible? Like if you're willing to break some laws, like hide in the bathroom or something, like maybe that would be smart. Just hide in the bathroom the entire train ride.
Yeah, maybe.
Go as far as it'll get you,
But even then, like Posy specifically, she's like, I can't go to the cities because like, there's like so many like cameras and like it's so much easier to like be found in the city, which isn't what most people think.
I just like don't know if I believe that though. Like, yeah, her logic is sound, but like I don't know. It just reminds me of the kind of thing where people are like, they think of like cities as like dangerous and like that's where you're more likely to get murdered, which might actually be true. I'm not sure statistically, but also like in the middle of nowhere, like there's no one to hear you scream, like where are you actually more likely to die? Like a farmhouse? I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. I know, but in terms of being found,
right,
a city, like you have more opportunities to be spotted.
But you're also much less noticeable. Like you're not going to notice any individual person.
I don't know, like
versus a newcomer to a town. Have you seen a Hallmark movie? Dario, he's still under the misapprehension that she was cheating on him, but he's already starting to have a change of heart. He's like, it was so inconvenient to invest hours in whining and dining her so that we could get to the games. Like he's like, all this man wants is a part. Oh my God.
He just wants a friend.
Oh my God.
He's so upset. I do appreciate though that Dario, he's not just mad at Posy. He is still like, okay, so I'm gonna get revenge on the boyfriend, on the guy that's like in the video with her, and I'm also gonna get revenge on Frankie, who is the ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, I just realized that it said that Frankie airdropped the video to the entire organization, which doesn't make any sense. Like you can't airdrop. How close do you have to be to airdrop? It implies that they're all within like 50 feet of each other. Whatever.
You're thinking too much about this.
And Dario's like, he's like, I just want her back just to break her again and watch her cry and have her beg for mercy. He's like, she wasn't sorry at all. She pretended to be innocent. Like so predictable. You think someone as skilled at strategy as she is would be a better liar. And I'm like, yeah, you would think, wouldn't you, Dario? Like,
but you didn't think. That's the problem. He's like, I was clouded. Like, and he realizes later on, he was like, I was clouded by my emotions when it comes to Posy.
He does have one emotion. He can feel angry.
It's like
that's yeah.
Revenge.
And then he's like, everyone. Yeah. Oh my God. She had the nerve to narrow her eyes at me when I asked for the watch back, as if she was disappointed in me.
Okay, so Daria, so the Ranelli, the mafia capo, and then the mafia don. Sorry, the capos are like the second in command. So Ranelli, who's the Don, and then his like capos and like basically all the rest of the goons show up, and Ranelli is like, "Hey, it was just a joke, a friendly banter between brothers. You don't take any revenge." And I love that during this whole conversation, Dario is just like, "Oh my god, like I'm just so much better than all these fuckers." Like,
yeah,
he's like, "Yeah, sure, I won't take revenge," but like internally, he's like, I'm counting the days. Like, and Ranelli is like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna kill Posy." And Dario's like, "You dare go after what's mine?"
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say.
He's so mad.
Yeah, he's like, I've seen another man taking what's mine, and like, I guess that's just like the dark romance catchphrase, like quote unquote taking what's mine or whatever. But like, and just like generally, like the mine thing, I feel like it's a general romance thing, which I usually don't mind, or like sometimes I like it. But like, I don't know, it's just different when it's like claiming someone as yours, whereas like it seems like in dark romances they're always using it offensively. You know what I mean? Like offensively, like versus.
What do you mean offensively?
Like taking what's mine is different than just like mine. You know, like the classic like mine thought. Or it's always like I don't know.
I don't know.
Because it's always like in the context of like someone else taking it, you know? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
So Ranelli and the goons putts off, and Luca, who is gay. This is the first time I would like to say that I've seen like a queer character, an openly queer character in a mafia romance who was like a protagonist, like not a villain. I was like, wow.
I wrote that down. I was like, are they getting a book? Yeah.
No, because they're already a couple.
Yeah.
Luca and Tomas.
Yeah, and it's like acknowledged. It's not just like us hypothesizing. Like it's going to be like stated later on. I also want to just want to say, so while he's like, you know, nodding along to like, yeah, we'll all get along, like to Ranelli, but in his head, he's like planning revenge on Frankie. And he's like, I'll get revenge on him and I'll take a picture and be sure to send it to the group chat. I just love that there's like a mafia group chat. I don't know. It's just something about that. It's just so funny. It's like in is it Accidentally Engaged, where her dad is in like specifically he's specifically in the Tanzania Gujarati dad business owners Facebook group chat. Like I just love that.
Yeah, I love when there's just like a group where you're like, really? Like why?
No, I mean it's just like
so Luca basically says some cryptic shit that basically boils down to like, they're fucking with you, Dario. Come on, you're smarter than this. And then he like, you know, snaps off in his like suit like he's the fucking Jets or the Sharks or whatever. Like he rolls off. Dario's like, oh my gosh, they are fucking with me. I'm gonna think about that later. And then he's like, find Posy. And he is freaking out because they can't find Posy. And he thinks it's just because he's possessive, but it's really because he's a simp. And he's like, why is she so smart that she like knows how to run away like effectively? Like, why do I respect her so much? Like, she's making me feel emotions. I'm in a rage. He's so upset.
Oh my god.
He's so upset.
Yeah.
He's also upset because he's like, oh my, like she was in love with me. And like, now I've revealed my true self. And I'm going to need Carolyn to like make her fall in love with me. It's just so goddamn inconvenient.
Wait, I have to like catch up because I have like so many notes. The thing is, the problem with reading this in Kindle form is that it allowed me to copy and paste sections that I thought were funny and then write my notes under it, which makes my notes like so long. I have no problem waiting for revenge. I'm a big fan of antipasti. I like all kinds of things cold. Revenge.
H.C. Wells really, she just like opened a vein and just spilled her little mafia loving
It's
heart
almost
out.
better when an enemy has been lulled into a false sense of security. The surprise in his eyes when he feels the blade slip between his ribs. It gets me hard every time. Like I thought you were a money man, Dario. Like what's the truth?
Well, he also likes killing.
I know.
Okay.
Wait, and he's like, I was wondering if like everyone would get their own book, like all these mafia people, but like he's like shit talking them so much at this point. I was like, tell him like, all right, I guess they aren't.
The only one, she actually just released the second book in this series called Nikki the Driver, which is about, you guessed it, Nikki the driver, who like doesn't really show up until the end of this book.
And so it's just to note, so we mentioned Ray the driver. He also has another goon like Ivano, which just to note, like Posy never liked him. Like I don't know, I guess he like he's just like
he always
skeevy.
stares at her boobs.
Yeah, and we find out that like Dario doesn't fully trust him at this point, so keep that in mind. Also to note, Luca, gay man number 1, who's like, he's like kind of Dario's half brother or stepbrother.
His mom married Dario's dad,
right? But they never like lived together. Anyway, Dario's like trying to figure out where she would go, and he's like, I don't even know what she did all day. Like she went to the pool. Like maybe she likes the beach. Like, like he literally doesn't know anything about her, which is so weird to me. Like I always feel like that kind of like stereotypical relationship was like so foreign to me.
Well, he literally just uses her for chess and fucking. Like they don't really interact outside of that. Okay. So 6 weeks, flash forward 6 weeks, Posy's been hiding out and she's barely scraping by. And she's also very mad that she misses Dario and is also like, I wish I could go back to when he accused me, but with a gun.
Yeah. And
she's like
yeah. And I was really hoping it would be a while until they reunite, like letting him like stew in his juices for a little bit. Lo and behold.
No, I actually really liked that he found her.
Also, apparently Posy has never left the city before, which is so weird. It's like Neon God, like how? But they also mention like going on long car. She also talks about things about like how they used to go on long car rides together, and like the silence was never comfortable. Like, but they were still going to get married. But like, what long car rides were you going on? Like that if you've never left the city,
45 minutes.
Okay, I guess like a European definition of a long car ride, I guess. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between a long car ride and a road trip. You know what I mean?
Sure, I guess. Yeah. Yeah,
okay,
true.
So
yeah, with a gun.
because Posy's barely making money at her gas station job, she essentially creates an OnlyFans, like a fictional version of OnlyFans. And I'm like, all right, girl, you good for you, like hustle culture. Except that she uses her real name as her username, and she puts her real face as her profile picture. And then she emails the link to her newly established OnlyFans to Dario. And then she's shocked when he immediately requests a live video. She's like, who could have seen this coming?
Classic amateur move.
Hiding out from the mafia. Essentially creating an online presence that says exactly where I am.
She makes her username Posy Volpe just to like rub it in. But yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, she's doing this with a bounty on her head. Like, I was like, you're soulmates because you're both insane. Like, you're both insane.
She's, quote, I'm aware that I'm punch drunk, bordering on manic, but I can't seem to calm myself down. Like, with how excited she is about this new, like, cam girl project. And, like, I just related to that so hard. I'm like, this is just me, though, except I never try to calm myself down. I just ride the high and, like, stay manic as long as it takes.
She's just like, we get this more from Dario's perspective where he's constantly like, oh, she's playing a game. I like playing games with her. Like, hee. But like Posy does that too. Like she never like really vocalizes it in her head, but like she's definitely, this is why she's so manic. She's like, another game. Like, hee. This is great.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so basically she just like touches herself a little bit to like, really piss him off, and then like hangs up on him. And afterward he's like, wait, why did she do some revenge boob touching on this live video with me? She doesn't even like sex.
Which he had no problem with before this.
Meanwhile, on the previous page, Posy was like, yeah, Dario's not generous in bed, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, no wonder she doesn't like sex, Dario. As we've said many times on the podcast, like, oh, why doesn't my girlfriend/wife like sex? Maybe it's because you're bad at it.
Right. No, 100%. Yeah. Anyway, Dario's like, just come back. Like, don't be dramatic. And I was like, Dario, what? Like, how are you not groveling? Like, he doesn't even tell her that he knows she didn't cheat at any point.
You capeeshed her, Dario. It's gonna take more than this to like get her to come back. So after she hangs up on him and he's like, oh, like this is a game now. The game is afoot, Watson. He like turns to Ray and he's like, I'll break her. And Ray is like, not if you're careful. And Dario just has like a 404 like he's like, what is that? What does that mean? What do you mean? Not if I'm careful. He just like doesn't understand because he's such a mess without her. And he's like he spends this like whole separation trying to hype himself up that like he's not going to be a simp when she gets back and that he's going to be so cool And then like every time they have like phone conversations, because he like tips her like $5,000 on like OnlyFans like every time they talk. So like every time they have a conversation, he's like, she's losing weight, she has dark circles under her eyes, she's not sleeping, there looks like dirt on the wall behind her. I'm like, you are so like, you're done so man. Like I don't care if you don't think, like you're done.
Oh yeah, I wrote down like I really want the fix for this to be like that he gets better at sex, not that it gets better just because they build some like emotional connection or some shit or like communicate. And that is what happens. Don't worry, dear listener.
No, he very much is like, hang on. Sex is a game and I'm going to be a master.
Right. It's like communicate about what if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Anyway.
So he's like at a dinner party and he's seated next to Nivea and he like Nevea and he realizes that like he's like, oh, she's like Posy's friend or whatever. And she like somehow like drops that like Posy saw her. And that like, and he's like, oh, we should look for someone with her ID. Like that's who we should look. So like she doesn't do it on purpose, but like he's just like too smart. And so after he's like, the dinner's still going on, he like learns this, he like goes to call Ray and he's like, look this up, like get the private investigators on this stat. And he scurries on over into a phone booth in this like fancy hotel because it has a phone booth, and he calls Posy and she picks up and he's like, you're losing weight again, because she's just been like working out, she's like out of breath, and he's like, I'm keeping it tight for the fans, like ha ha ha. And he has this internal thought where he's like, my gut sours, I knew the veal was undercooked. And I'm like,
oh my god,
veal.
He's so many like, thoughts like that. He's like, I should take a Tums.
It's perfect. Like this man is like a walking embodiment of the like, oh my god, I'm in love, I need to go to the hospital trope. Like I love it. I love everything about it. And then he's also like, he makes her smile during this call and he has another strange feeling in his stomach and he's like, what was that?
And then he's like, I checked my phone one last time before I joined the party, no new posts, my left eye twitches. I just love the eye twitching as emotion. Like that's just like great. Like
he's like a rabid dog. Like he truly is rabid. Like you want to talk about a character like Anthony Bridgerton. He puts Anthony Bridgerton to shame. Like this man is insane. This man needs to be like put down.
I just really wanted it to take him like, I was like, I really hope it takes him multiple years at least to like get her back.
Well, he regrets kicking her out because it quote grossly inconvenienced.
I know.
But basically, like during this call, he realizes he's like actually this is kind of great because like she knows who I am now, and so now I can be like my real, like I don't have to like pretend around her when I get her back. And then he's also like, and this is so like this is like weirdly sweet and like emotionally thoughtful, like this random component of him that like continues throughout the book, where he's basically like, Posy likes to pretend like she's not hurt when she is, but she's bad at it. So like I can always tell because like she's always trying to like people please and like she's desperate for love and like I wish that I could go back in time and undo the damage, like because I like when she like doesn't hide herself and I like when she's her true self or whatever. And it's just so like it's just this random like I was like, I don't think you even realize how emotionally healthy that is. Like I don't think you realize how compassionate that is to like wish that you like you want to help someone undo their trauma. Like what?
Wait, something I thought was funny was like Nevea, like Posy's like, until I like got to know her, I thought she was just like a cokehead, like until I realized that was just her personality. And then Dario was like, like Carlo the accountant and his cokehead girlfriend with the crazy hair is here. Anyway.
Okay, so Posy's closing down her job for the night. And she's walking.
I hate this.
And she hears, this was so tense. This is just like the first scene. You're like, oh my God, what the fuck is going to happen? She's walking home alone down the street and she hears this like ominous whistling. And she's like, what is that? She's like, oh my God, it's Dario. Like, so she recognizes, she's like, I know that it's him. And she's like running. And then he just basically chases her down. Like he runs her down.
This was like
ties her up and throws her in the trunk. And is like, I was like, this is so fucked up. But I'm also just so obsessed with it because like in the same moment, he's like, why are you walking home alone late at night? while he's fucking tied, like duct taping her in like the worst, like most uncomfortable position, like throwing her in his fucking trunk.
I just like can't, and leaves her there for the entire car ride, and then like rips the skin off her wrists when the tape comes off. Like, what the fuck? I also am a little bit like, her OnlyFans like is wildly successful, but like, is it because of Dario or do other people? It's just Dario. Okay. Yeah, no wonder because right, exactly. Because before like leaving her job at the convenience store, she like takes an artistic picture of her crumpled bag of chips and posts it on OnlyFans. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What? You're gonna charge $5,000 for a subscription?
So he's like, he's driving away. He's like humming along to his like music or whatever, like driving home, and she's like brooding in the trunk. Mm-hmm. And she's thinking about how mad he was when he saw the video. And she's like, it must suck to feel no love, but to be perfectly capable of feeling like a bitch. It's like, oh, baby back bitch. There he is.
Oh my God. I just can't believe I was like, what? Like, he's literally gonna leave her in the trunk. Like, and then she's like, everyone's heard that if you're in a trunk, try to kick the lights out. But like with the golf bag crowding me, there's not enough space. I never heard that, but like I believe it.
Oh, you haven't? There's also like I've heard not kick the lights up, but you're supposed to like try to like punch your hand out, like stick your hand out. Yeah.
And apparently there's an emergency release with a quote neon green tab with a helpful picture of a stick figure jumping out of the trunk and running away. But I'm like, isn't that a bit of an oversight for the mafia people? Like, don't you think if you're gonna put people in trunks, you would like disengage that little function?
That's why you tie them up.
But like, but there must be a way to like get rid of that. Anyway, so he finally gets her out and tries to stand her up, but she like can't stand up. She falls over and smacks her little head on the pavement. Yeah, she cracks her head on the pavement and then pees herself. And then he takes off the tape and it removes a layer of skin. Like, what?
But he's also just like, so yeah, her legs are asleep. That's why she fell over. And he's just like, she falls over and he's like, what's wrong with you? And then he's like immediately checking her for injuries. And I was like, you are a walking contradiction, sir. Because he's both like, I don't want her to be hurt, but he's also fucking like duct taping her.
I don't understand.
She thinks he's going to kill her like this whole time. She thinks like he's going to
he's like, if you hit me, I'll hit you back. Like,
yeah. So he carries her up to like, he's like, take a bath. Like, you smell like gas station and like my trunk, so go take a bath. And like after you know he gets all the duct tape off her, and like, you know, she could possibly have a concussion, and she's like, I'm too tired to take a bath. And so then he tries to take off her shirt. He takes off her shirt for her, but he doesn't unbutton the top button. So as he's pulling it up over her head, it gets stuck. And he's like, stop it, as if she's doing it.
I know, which is like a recurring like anxiety like nightmare I have. Like, do you have that dream where your clothes are stuck on your head?
No.
I asked our brother that. And he was like, yeah, I had that dream once, but it was only because I was like actually stuck in the covers and I woke up and I was stuck and it was terrifying. Oh my God.
I don't think that I've ever had that dream.
Like, your clothes are too tight and you have tight clothes on, you realize you can't get it off yourself.
No.
Yeah.
I've never had that. I'm probably going to have it tonight. Thanks for putting that image in my head.
Sorry.
Anyway, he's such a dum-dum. He's like a fucking toddler. And then he's also like, he like turns the faucet on and he's like, get in. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, it's way too hot. Like, because he literally has it just all the way on hot. And he's like, why didn't you, like, what the fuck? Why is it so hot? And she's like, because like you're a dum-dum. Like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah.
He's like, I probably need to turn the water heater down. Like, why didn't you ever say anything? And she's like, how did you not notice? And he's like, I take cold showers. And then he like gets her in the tub and he starts like trying to wash her with the loofah, but he like is scrubbing her raw. Like, he's like a fucking Irish washerwoman, like in 1910s New York, like trying to like get the lye out of the fucking laundry. Like, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? And he's like just constantly like waffling between like, oh my God, like, what if she's hurt? Like, I hope she's not hurt. I hope she doesn't have a concussion. I hope she's okay. And then also like looking at her like duct tape scars and being like, I'm glad that I'm marked.
He says it out loud. He's like, it might leave a scar.
I know.
Like, good. And he's like, you shouldn't have run away, you know, in the beginning. Except like he literally told her to. Like, he was literally like, Capeesh, like, never be in my sight.
He Capeeshed her.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, you don't fuck with the Capeesh.
Yeah. So he gets in and he just like washes her with his hands, and Posy is like, what the fuck? Like, why am I putting up with this? Like, why am I like leaning into his embrace or whatever? Posy is both like, I need to expect more for myself, but Dario is also like, you need to advocate for yourself. Like, you need to tell me, like, if the water is fucking too hot, you need to tell me to turn on the water heater. Like, you have to tell me when things aren't wrong. And it's like, and it's because he's like, I don't fucking know when things are wrong. Like, I can't sense that. Like, with you have to communicate to me so that I can, like, you have to stand up for yourself. So I like that balance that they're both sort of like on the same page in a really fucked up way, but like on the same page with Posy's like how she needs to grow in order to like make this relationship.
Yeah. And yeah, so Dario starts like trying to have sex, and she's like, no, like, please stop. And she's like, it's a miracle. Like, I've said the magic words. Like, the one time that Dario actually like listens, like, you know, actually respects consent.
Well, no, because she never says no before.
Well, yeah, right. He's like, you fucked me all the time before when you weren't in the mood. And she's like, we were together, like couples do that. And he's like, I never fucked you if I didn't want to.
Yeah. But it's also like, Dario, if you know she's not in the mood, why are you doing it? Yeah. Anyway. And then this psycho is fucking cuddling her in the tub, and he touches her stomach, and he's like, I'm going to put a baby in here. You're insane.
He's literally insane. This is when we find out that they've literally never talked about kids or marriage before. But we're still like both separately planning to get engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, like, he puts her to bed. He like tucks her in to bed. And Posy's like, why aren't you making me suffer? Like, literally every time we were on the phone, you were like, I'm going to make you suffer when I get you back. And he's like, well, I'm not angry anymore because like all I really wanted was like for you to come back. And now I have you back. And I'm like, that's because you weren't angry, Dario. You were pining. You were pining. It wasn't anger. It was the fresh scent of pining hero.
Yeah. And this begins a cycle of Posy like promising to run away again as soon as she gets the chance. And Dario being like, don't fucking run. Don't worry. You can just go back to the way it was. Like, we can go back to pretending. She's like, no. It's not going to happen.
That's not how this works.
And then he locks
her. And
then
Dario's like, why do I care what Posy thinks of me? Like, why do I care about her feelings? And he says, quote, like, her feelings are real to me. And then, and that's like a recurring thing. He's like, she's the only one whose feelings are like real to me. But then he also says, like, she's not in my system. She is my system. And I was like, ooh, chills. That's the good dark romance juice right there. Like, time to slurp it all up.
So she's sleeping and he goes downstairs to like sulk and be like, and like after like 2 hours he's like, how much sleep does she need anyway? Like, she's got to be up by lunch. Like, I got her back. So, like, we have to go back to playing. Like, it's time to play games.
And then he gets a call from Ranelli, and Ranelli's basically like, I know that she's back. And he's like, you need to get rid of her. And Dario is like, yeah, I'll solve the problem in a week or two. And I'm like, ooh. And this is when Dario knows that Ivano, whatever, is the spy, like, is a spy in his house. Because he was like, otherwise, like, how the fuck would, like, Ranelli have found out so quickly? And so Dario's like, great. I needed a new punching bag anyway.
Yeah. And he's like, so going back to like, her feelings are real to me. So he's like, oh, I had to like, it was an issue when I was younger. Like, I had to learn that hurting people had consequences. Like, my dad was always pissed at me for like wasting his time with my penchant for inconvenient violence. And then he's like waxing poetic. He's like, it wasn't like, he's like, I'm sure it'll pass. Like, I'm sure I'll get sick of her. But like, this isn't just like a new smell or a new color. Like, the whole world is suddenly tinted pink. It's like a glimpse at a new dimension. But I'm sure it'll pass. Like,
oh no, this definitely isn't real. He basically like beats Ivano to a pulp, and he's like really about to kill him. And Posy is like, oh my god, no, don't kill him or whatever. And he's like, fine, if you insist. I won't.
Yeah.
And so he's like, get a doctor for him, like, whatever. Like, after like cutting out his tongue and just fucking him up. And Posy thinks that she's like, oh my god, he's brought me down here to like essentially show like what's gonna happen to me. And he's like, no, I showed you that like I will take out anyone who is a threat.
He's like, I do it for you, Posy. You belong to me. But then right after, he's like, you're not gonna try to run again, are you, Posy? And then he's like, she's probably not going to be up for a game anytime soon. I need to shower anyway. There's blood all over me. Maybe after a nap, she'll be ready to play again. He's like, I feel like he's just like a small child or like animal.
He is.
Like,
he's
when
a
will it be time?
toddler.
When is game time again? When is game time? Like,
when is playtime? He's like our cat. He's like Evie.
Yeah.
You know, like
100%
really
like,
into game time. But then as soon as she's done game time, like bitey. Like she'll bitey. And then like she's back in game time. Like it's so, yeah.
Yeah.
So she takes a nap and then she wakes up and he's like, chess? And she lets him win. And he's so upset. He's so upset that like she's not like trying in chess. And then he tries to fuck her and she's like not like he just like bends her over the table and she's like, all right, like let's just get this over with. And he's like, why aren't you wet? Like, what? Like, what? Why aren't you wet? You're usually wet. And she's like, because I'm not fucking into it, you asshole. And he's like, oh, fine. And then he says, your low self-esteem is a real issue, Posy.
I know. Like, I was like,
it's just so like, it's just such like a toxic dichotomy of like, yes, good, Dario. Like you're trying to like pump up her self-esteem and like get her to like advocate for herself. And on the other hand, you're just insane. And then Dario is basically just like, you need to learn your power. Like, I may be the king, but in chess, like the queen has the most power as like a player. So like, there's a lot of like really fun chess metaphors that this is how I first recommended the book to you. Like when I first told you about this book, when I first read it, I was like, you would like this book because like they talk about chess.
Oh my God. And he also gives her this weird spiel of like, he's like, you have so much power. Like, if you make me angry enough, I could kill you. I might not even mean to. So basically, like, it'll be your fault if I kill you. Like, no, all right, Dario, like, get out of here.
But he never would. You know what I mean? Because like very quickly, like after that, he's like looking at like the scrapes and bruises on her wrists, and he's like, I don't like it. I'm like, what he's like a toddler who's like caused destruction and then sees it and is like, oh, actually I don't like that. Like he's just they play chess again and she's hungry and this is another situation in which it's a totally normal thing and he just doesn't know. He's like, why is your stomach making those noises? It's distracting.
It's just so weird. Like, does he not get hungry? That's not. Yeah, he's like, it's distracting me from a chess game.
Yeah, and then he orders her food. He's like on the phone. He's like, bring up food for Posy, whatever. And then he hangs up, and he's like, you can stop making the noises now. Like, I've ordered you food. Like, as if she's like making them at will.
That's just so weird. Like, how could he not know? I just don't understand.
I love it.
It's so weird.
It. He does something. He like makes a dumb move and she's like, that was a stupid move with your queen. And he's like, yeah, it was. And I'm like, it's a I smell a metaphor. If it was a stupid move with his queen when he kicked her out, like, oh, look at this. The chess metaphors are rampant. I love it. I love it.
They really are.
Like Cate C really leaned in hard. And I saw she released, so the cover for this is like basically just like a naked, jacked, hot, like a shirtless, jacked, hot man. Like that's what the cover for this. But Cate C, I recently saw on her Instagram, she released like a discreet cover. And it's very like, I got very like Breaking Dawn energy from it, but it's like basically like it's a queen like covered in blood. Nice. Like the pawn, like the chess piece. And I was like, this is actually a really fucking cool cover. So then they're going to a dinner.
Oh yeah, he makes her go to dinner with him. And like she's like thinking about other past relationship, like when he would just like make her go to town with him once or twice a week, but like not ever ask her or like even ask her what the restaurant, and like they would just leave whenever he was done. And she's like, what the fuck? Like that's not what a date is. Like, but yeah, so they're going.
So he takes her and he gets her, he's basically, so he's still like brooding about the fact that she wasn't wet when he tried to fuck her. He's like, that's unacceptable. So he basically gets her to masturbate for him in the car, and he just like watches her. Like he's just like so laser focused like on her because he's like memorizing how she masturbates so that he knows exactly how to get her off. And then he like comes all over her and he's like, you can't wash it off, like you're gonna go in there and like you're just gonna be covered in me. And I was like, you sicko. I love it.
Just horrible,
but also like in real life not hot, in book yes,
in book swamp ass, still not hot. And wait, so just to like back up, just like a general thing that's going on this whole time is that Posey has been like noting that like everyone else in the mafia world, like so even like her abusive ex, like the girls are still all over him, even though everyone knows he's like that. But with Dario, like all her old friends at her old job and everything, like everyone was like scared of Dario. Like no one was like simping over him. And like even in the house, like all the staff is like tiptoeing around him. And she's like, I just now am thinking in quite a worried way that I might have made an error. She's like, what did everyone else know that I didn't know? And we still don't know what that is. So just keep that in mind.
So in the car, she's covered in his cum. He has just learned the power of fingers for making ladies cum. And they're at the dinner, and all the mobsters are basically like making fun of her and like mocking her about the video because like obviously they've all seen it. Dario like seems like he's like, ignoring it, and he's like not standing up for her, and she's upset. So he's like, go to the bathroom, Posey. So she comes back, and Dario like they're like everyone's like watching the video now together, and they're all still trying to make fun of her. She comes back, and Dario like presses a button, and like they all get notifications that they've all lost like millions of dollars in the stock market, and they're like, oh my god, mamma mia, what is this? And Dario like just like casually like, you know, wipes the corners of his mouth with his, you know, silk napkin or whatever. And he's like, anyone who has that video, fucking delete it. And anyone who brings it up in Posey's presence ever again, I will kill you, basically. He's like, don't do that. And then he like presses another button, and like everyone gets $10 million. So they're like, what a funny joke. Like they all know it wasn't a joke, but like,
right.
Like he's just like, I just remember, like, I will fuck you up.
Right.
So fucked up, and I love it. It's my catnip, baby.
Oh my god.
Then in the car, he gives her the engagement ring, and he like puts it on, and he's like, you're thinking about pawning it, aren't you? And she's like, how did he know? Like, I was thinking about pawning it. And then he's also like, he basically like through a chess metaphor, he articulates that like she is like, her feelings are real to him. And basically he says, everyone else is a piece, a pawn, a knight, a king, not you. And she's like, let me guess, I'm the queen. And he's like, no, you're the one on the other side of the board. And I was like, because she's his equal. She's not just a piece to move around.
Incredible.
Fabulous. I love it. I love the commitment to the chess metaphor. It's just truly wonderful. Great. And then they get home, and he fingers her exactly the way she did it in the car. So like he's like, I know how to get you off, and it's a game, and I'm like really fucking good at it. Like we get in his internal monologue, he's like, I actually really fucking like getting Posey off now, because it's like fun to like learn new ways. Like she's just like a puzzle. I was like, if that's what's gonna get you to be generous in bed, fine.
I wrote down like so many of these like quotes, and I was just like killer quote after killer quote.
He has a thought. He's like, I want her to stay, and so she has to believe she's safe, and worse, she has to be happy.
They had this like conversation about like why they're together, and like Dario is just like constantly showing that he like knows exactly what she's been thinking this whole time, but just like hasn't really cared to like accommodate it in any way. And he's like,
her feelings weren't real until now, Rachel, until he lost her.
He's like, you're hot, I have money, we're compatible, that's why you're with me, isn't it? Like, and then he's like, maybe money's the wrong word, I should say like security. You like not being the rejects. Like, oh my god. She's like, okay, so according to you, I'm a clinger. Like, yeah.
She's like, why are you being so mean? What the fuck?
And finally, she's like, you know what? But my shortcomings are nothing to your unrepentant psychopathy. And I'm like, you know, at least we're clear on that part, Posey. Like, at least she's not. Like,
at least she's going.
At least your self confidence is high. It's like, no, at least her self confidence is like up to that point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I like that you need me. Yeah.
Yeah, Dario's like brooding, and he's like, why are her feelings so real to me? Maybe it's the universe saying that we'd make superior offspring. And I was like, Jacob Black, is that you? Is this the Quileute werewolves? That weird? Is this the imprinting? Like
Jacob.
What? Stephanie? Did you ghostwrite this?
I don't know like if this is from now or later, but at one point he makes a raw sound, like a deep purr vibrating in the back of his throat, and I just wrote cat.
He truly is a cat. He's our cat.
I'm just surprised that the title of this book doesn't have something about playing a game, because like the number of times they're like, I want to play, like, let's play the game. I don't know.
Yeah, they play the game.
Oh yeah, okay, I finally just got to the you're the one on the other side of the board quote. I just like can't keep up. It's not your fault. It's this is why I can't read physical books, especially in digital form, apparently. Oh god. She's mewling like a drowsy kitten. Okay, Luca. Yes, Luca.
Okay. So Luca appears and he is like, Ranelli still wants to take Posy out because he thinks that you're a man being led around by your dick. And instead of being insulted, Dario's like, am I? That sounds great. He's like, wow, like I never thought I would be like that. Like, what a novel concept. Like, yes, I'm being led around by my dick. Wonderful. And basically, we find out the thing that Dario allegedly did. Like, so basically, Dario killed his stepmother, Luca's mom. But it was because she was like dying very slowly and painfully from cancer. And Luca, who wasn't allowed to see her, was basically like, can you like do a mercy killing? And Dario was like, sure. And he like pumped her up on morphine and then like snapped her neck. So like everyone's like, oh my God, he's wild. Like he killed his stepmom. But like Luca and him are chill. And Luca's like, want me to owe you another favor? And Dario's like, sure. Like, and then they basically are like, we're gonna join forces to take down Ranelli.
Which is so weird because Luca's mother was Ranelli's sister. And they were just like, fuck her, I guess. Like,
no, Ranelli's a dick. That's like what ultimately like comes to revenge, is that he was like, he did not care about anyone.
Dario's like, I was hoping that Ranelli would see sense, but it seems like he's going to cling to his pride. So I'm just going to have to burn this organization to the ground. Like, he's like, that's all. It's what a pain, but like,
what an inconvenience. Like one inconvenience after another. First Posy runs away. Now I have to like expend effort to take these people down.
And this is when we get the confirmation, because Luca's like, what is it, Volpe? Like adjusting his scarf. Why Posy Santoro? And Dario's like, I shrug. I don't know. Why Tomas Sacco? Fire flares deep in his dead eyes. A direct hit. Interesting. And then like the way it's described, it's like Luca like pops his collar and walks off down the hallway to like an 80s soundtrack. Like that's what I'm hearing. Like the end of like Breakfast Club or something. He's like, off. Basically. So like, yeah. And then Dario skips up the stairs to go get some praise from Posy for like figuring out how to make her come. Like he's literally like, she's gonna blush and stammer breathlessly. I figured her out, damn it. I played her like a violin.
It's gonna be great.
Oh my God.
And he's like, I forget the context of this, but I just wrote down like thinks about the idea of like Posy being with someone else, like / like him being replaceable, and he like feels bad about it and he thinks it's heartburn. He's like, oh, what is this? I need to Tums.
I know. And Posy's like, Posy's basically like, I'm only good for sex or cribbage. Is that it? And Dario's like, ugh, she's like the self-pity party again. Like, I'm not going to indulge it. He's like, most women are mediocre at both, like sex and cribbage. You should be proud. And I was just like, really, Dario? Most women are mediocre at sex? Weird, because it seems like it's like the men who always get to come, not the, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Anyway, but he does like no groveling whatsoever. He's just like, yeah. He's just like,
but for some reason it works. And I not only do I love a grovel, 99.9% of the time I need a grovel. I need a good satisfactory grovel. And like the lack of satisfactory grovel can ruin a book for me. Like it's done it many times before where I'm like totally vibing with the book and then like the man like doesn't even say I'm sorry except for like one half-assed apology during half a page in the last chapter. Like I love it, but for some reason this book I'm like, he gets away with it. And you know why? It's because he kills everyone for her. Like that's his grovel. Yeah. Like he doesn't get on his knees, but he fucking like shoots her ex-boyfriend 20 times.
He's like happy to do it. Like that's not like a sacrifice for him. He like enjoys it. It's like his natural state.
I don't know. Just like I did write down.
I think it's the second half of this book. I think it's much better than the first. It's like the classic like break then repair formula, you know, which is like most books, but like it's really broken. So it's like impressive that you don't repair it all. And meanwhile, like Posy is like actually vomiting, and I was like, "Oh my God, is she gonna be pregnant?" Anyway,
spoiler alert.
I don't think this was supposed to be.
It wasn't.
That,
it
she's
definitely
just like, she's
wasn't
because
it's only been like a few days after she got back, and I was like, no, because I feel like the first time I read this book, I was like, oh my God, no, is this gonna be one of those situations in which the author does like not understand that morning sickness does not begin like immediately upon conception? But no, Cate C. Wells, like she knows that. It definitely, she's just vomiting from distress.
Yeah.
And now Dario gives her a gun for protection. wildly hot scene where he eats her out in the safe room while she's holding a gun to his head. She holds the gun to his head. I'm sorry. She holds the gun to his head while she's like, I could shoot you right now. He's like, fucking do it. Like, I was like, oh, like, quite frankly, one of the hottest scenes I've ever read.
And he has a secret panic room, but it doesn't even have cool furniture. Like, why not? Why is it not a bunker? Can I just say that we got all these annoying references in the beginning to Dario being like a controlling neat freak, but those mostly disappear until like now when they just like mention how he's like constantly on her about like living in the house at all. But he's gonna get over that. But yeah, so he's like come in the panic room, he gives her a gun, and he's like, I didn't realize before that it bothers me when you're unhappy. And she's like, if you didn't want me to be unhappy, why'd you kidnap me? And he's like, well, it bothers me more when I'm unhappy than when you're unhappy, obviously. And then she points a gun at his head. He points a gun at his head. She's like, give me your wallet and the passcode for your debit card. And this is the point at which I realized, like, I don't know, like, I feel like it's such a common, like, the myth of, like, men don't have emotions. Like, that's why this book can work at all, because he's not even that far off from, like, the typical, like, stereotype. You know what I mean? Like, it's really just saying that all men are psychopaths when people say that, you know?
Yeah.
Which
but
is
I
so
don't know,
weird.
with Dario, it's done, like...
It is worse.
Like,
It
yes.
is more.
No. It's, like, worse, but also, like... I don't know. I think the book is very much making the case that, like, yeah, he's like a psychopath, but like he does have emotions. He just doesn't realize that they're emotions because he's constantly like, I need a Tums. The veal was undercooked. What is this feeling? Like, I don't know what this is. Like, he just doesn't realize. And then they have sex, and he is basically like, he's like, what do you want to do after sex? Because like normally he just like walks away and takes a shower. And she's like, well, people usually cuddle. And he gives her the most awkward cuddle in the entire world. And she's like, what the fuck is this? And he just slaps her butt and he's like, shut up and take it.
Oh my God.
He's so dumb.
Oh my God.
Now we have the like fake finale. I always forget that this isn't the finale of the book because this is like fucking explosive. So Ranelli's men show up and basically like take them all. And Posy thinks that like Dario is handing her over.
Wait, what do you mean? She's like, oh my God, like, it's totally the finale.
The finale is with Ivano.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Right?
Too.
Right?
Crazy.
You totally forget about that.
Yeah, wow.
It's like
last. So Ranelli come in. Yeah, last minute like twisteroo. Yeah, and Dario's like, don't run, Posy. Like, don't try to run. And she's like, oh my God, like he's gonna fucking. And then she's like, she's in the car with like Joey and like Frankie or whatever, and like Joey is being like a super like creepy dick and like being like, oh, like, do you want to fuck me? Like, it's your last whatever. And she describes him as, quote, he looks like the dude pushing 30 who'd crash house parties back in high school, end quote. Which, not to reference Twisted Love, the only other dark romancy book we've done, but that's what I was trying to explain about why her brother is so weird in that, because that's him. All right, yeah. So they go to they go down to the loading docks.
Wait, sorry. Before we get to the bang bang like finale part 1, I have a question for you because this is a recurring, and this is just when I finally wrote it down, but this is a recurring thing that happens every time someone drives in this book. They always put on the emergency brake.
While driving?
No. Like when they park, they'll put on the emergency brake. And here's my thing. I was under the impression that the emergency brake was like only for when you're like parked on a hill or something and like you want to make sure your car doesn't roll away. Like, do people, question for you, question for listeners, do you put on your emergency brake like just out of habit?
No, I think what it is, and this is based on like literally I know 2 people who put on the emergency brake, and I think all it takes is one. It's generational trauma. All it takes is one person that you know or in your family who had a car roll down a hill, and then they always put on the emergency brake, and then they teach you. So maybe like Ranelli, like the Godfather, had like an incident in his youth, and ever since then he's like insisted. He runs a tight ship. I feel like that's all it takes is like one time, and then like everyone you know what I mean? Like imagine if you imagine if you had even like a close friend like call you and be like, oh my fucking God, my car just like ran into traffic because it went down a hill. Like I feel like I would be thinking about that every single time, and I'd be like, let me just turn it, let me just do it. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so now bang bang finale. They all get herded into like this empty warehouse, and this is where I was like, oh, it's Pittsburgh, because they're like, oh, it's like known for steel, the abandoned warehouses. I was like, this is Pittsburgh. Yeah. And Ranelli is basically like has like them surround, like Posy's in the middle, and he's basically just like kill Posy now. And Dario, in like the most soap opera move of the century, is just like, or how about I kill you? And then Nikki the driver, who I mentioned at the beginning as the hero of the next book, like throws himself on top of Posy, like throws her on the ground. And then essentially Luca and Dario just stand back to back with like what I'm assuming are machine guns. Like I'm picturing just like one of those slow motion like and they just like mow down like everyone. And like Luca like shoots Ranelli in the head and is basically like, that's for my mother, bitch. And like and then like Frankie is trying to like get away. And Dario kills Frankie by shooting him in all the places that he hit Posy. And I was like, I have unlocked a new kink. Like, I think this is the first time that I read this, and I think that's actually like a pretty common trope for like somehow like someone has injured you and like you are now shooting them in the places that they have injured you. Like that is a mafia trope.
Like,
and I was just like,
hit you.
I was like, oh, this is amazing. Because he's like, when you had that bruise, that was from him, right? And she was like, yeah. And so he's like, poof, and then he's like, like he just takes him out. It's amazing. I was like, justice. I love it. But Posy very understandably is like, what the fuck?
Finally loses it and runs. And he just like follows her like at a safe distance, like it follows, and she gets to the river, and Dario's like, don't jump in the fucking river, Posy. It's disgusting. We'll catch tetanus. She's like, you can't catch tetanus from swimming, but
she says that. She's like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, I'm gonna have to jump in after you. Like, can you be cool for like 2 seconds?
Oh my God. I mean, this is when he's like, I'm actually a sociopath, not a psychopath, because I can care about you, which I don't think is the actual definition, but like, whatever.
But I accept it. In universe, it is. And he also like this weirdo, like he finally realizes he loves her. He's like, I can't love Posy. He's like, what does love feel like? And she gives some sort of like whatever, like it's floating. It's like floating or whatever. And he's like, I don't feel that. And she's like, well, I think it's also like when you like need the other person or something. And he's like, oh, okay. I feel that. And then he like carries her away, and she's like, wow, I did feel like I was floating, like whatever. So he carries her away. She's going into shock. And I'm like, get this gal some mushroom ravioli and Coca-Cola stat. Come on. Like, what's the point of being in the Italian mafia if you can't bring out mushroom ravioli at a moment's notice when your girlfriend's going into understandable shock?
Yeah. And this was the second time that I got reminded of Twilight, because there was another time when he was like waiting for her with his back to the window, and I was like, it's Edward waiting in the water for Bella. Anyway. Yeah. When Posy is like, oh, like she still doesn't believe that he like loves her or whatever, and she's like, would you kill for me? Like, would you die for me? Like, whatever. Which is one of those things that I feel like is used to justify, like, I don't know, like it's like oh, well, women have to do all the domestic labor, but like men protect women. It's like, okay, in what situation would that ever actually be relevant? Like, you're never going to be asked to do that. But I feel like a mafia romance is like the one time when that is actually like a valid consideration.
You're like, all right. Yeah, really the only thing as a mafia romance, the only thing that this book was missing was like a murder over dinner scene. Like, we had like a metaphorical murder when like Dario makes them all lose their money and delete the video, but like usually it's like near the beginning in mafia romances, like somebody gets shot over spaghetti,
like a murder
you know
mystery.
What I mean? Like they're at a wedding or something, someone gets shot, like that's just how it works. So that's really like the only thing that was really missing in this, otherwise pretty like quintessential mafia romance. So they have like a little like happy period, like Posy, like they're just trying to like readjust to normal, like Luca's now like the dawn of the mafia or whatever, like everything's gone back to normal or whatever. Dario's like, I like making Posy come, it's better than solving a Rubik's Cube.
Oh my God.
And then she like, it turns out she's pregnant, and we have another moment where he's like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you doing it? Like, she's like, I'm pregnant, you fucking idiot. And then like we just gonna mention that they got married in Vegas, and then they got kicked out for counting cards. And Posy was like, Dario was so obvious about it, but like, you know, I was like more like, we wouldn't have gotten caught if it was just
yeah. God. And like, yeah, he's this whole time like, he's like, she's like, do you love me? And he's like, yes. he's like, good thing I have no compunction about lying, but like the truth won't comfort her. Like, I wonder what it'll take.
No. That he says that about the baby, because she's like, will you love the baby?
Right,
she's worried that he won't love the baby, and he's like, I'm worried I won't love the baby too, and he's also worried that like once Posy has the baby to love, then she won't like need him anymore,
which I don't like. Yeah, he's like, I wonder what it will take for her to trust me. What happens when, of course, she can't.
Yeah. Drama. And then we get one last tussle. Ivanhoe comes back, and we have a classic moment which the man is like mean to the heroine because he's just trying to like get her out of the like dangerous situation. And Posy's like, hang on. I love that she doesn't like run away. She's like, wait, no, that was weird as shit. Like,
something is like a mysterious black bag in the backyard.
It turns out it's like the one of the bodyguards who's been like shot.
Yeah, she's like, she doesn't like give up. But wait, can I just say that the number, so I haven't mentioned this up until now, but like the sheer number of descriptions of mirror shots and descriptions of her outfits. Like right now she's like, I'm a bombshell, gray terry sweatshirt dress with pockets, prego yoga pants. How is Dario not rushing back to this? This sheer number of like, just like, we always know what she's wearing.
It's wonderful. It's fabulous. Yeah, so basically she comes out, she gets the gun that she got after, before getting some nice tongue licking, and she shoots Ivanhoe, and she's like, fuck out of my man, whatever. And then they have a cute little moment that's like, it's just like the perfect amount of like fucked up and cute, where she's like, oh, like, you love me just the way I am, and he's like, you didn't come any other way. It's like, oh, that was really fucking cute. So we get the epilogue. The baby is born. Surprise, surprise. Dario's like, oh my God. The baby's feelings are real as well. But he's also like, why does that have hair on its ears? Like,
he's like the classic, like, oh, like, do they even know what they're doing? Like, what is this doula doing? And he's like, Posy wanted to give birth in a pool, but that's where I draw the line. She's not drowning my kid because Karen the doula says a water bath is transcendent. You know what's transcendent? Surviving childbirth. And as someone who was born in a water bath, let me just say,
as two people who were born in a water bath, I just want to say, like, yeah, right. Like, I don't remember it, but like, I transcended it because I survived.
Exactly. It transcended memory. Yeah, it transcended your experience.
I lived, so, but which is ironic because I have almost drowned many times afterward as a child, but not then.
Yeah, my God. And we get a parallel with so when he killed Ivanhoe, when he like beat Ivanhoe to death, Posy was like, oh my God, there's so much blood. She's just like in shock. And we get a parallel here because he comes in and sees everything, and he's the baby and her, and he's like, oh my God, she must be dying. There's so much blood. But the rest of them are just acting nonchalant. And it's like how he was acting nonchalant when he killed Ivanhoe and like after the bloodbath of the Ranelli men. But like now it's the opposite. He's just immediately like, oh, my girl's safe.
Aww. I didn't notice that. That's cool.
I don't know. That's just maybe it wasn't intentional. I don't know, but
I feel like it was. I feel like that makes sense. Yeah,
it's like every other time, like she's freaking out, and he's like, whatever. There's just a little blood, just a flesh wound.
Dead flesh wound. Yeah, but then he's like the baby. Like, I guess newborns. I didn't know this. I learned this from this, or maybe I did know it and I just forgot that like babies are born with like hair all over their bodies, like a fine like layer of down that like falls out within a few weeks.
Yeah,
and he's like, why is the baby like, do we need to shave the baby? Like, what the fuck? And they're like, dude, simmer down. And then we have the classic, like the baby like wraps her fingers like around his finger, and he's like, oh my God, I love this baby. He's like, she's like clearly doing it with all her strength, but like she's a baby, so there's just no strength. Like, I'm gonna have to protect her. Like, God damn, because she's so weak.
Yeah. And
he's like, wow, her feelings are real too.
Yeah. On that note,
cats.
Scale.
Dario's a cat.
Yeah,
like
pretty
1000%.
I wrote down a few. I don't think I mentioned all of them just because of the sheer number of things, but like there were definitely a few like overt cat references as well.
Yeah, lots of. I feel like very shortly down the road, Posy's gonna convince Dario to get a cat, and he's gonna be just like the classic cat dad who like was the most against the cat and then is the one that like loves the cat the most. Yeah, we had lots of purring, lots of mewling, lots of murder, which feels very cat-like.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
3,
2, 1.
9.
Oh, I was gonna say like 6 or 7.
Why did you hesitate?
I didn't, because you hesitated. I said 3, 2, 1 and you said wait, and then you said 9.
No, I didn't.
That's what I heard. That's how it came through on my end.
That's not what I said.
You said 3, 2, 1 wait. And then 9.
No.
9.
What number did you say?
I guess
Stop thinking about my number. What number did you say?
7. I was gonna say 6 or 7,
okay.
But 6 felt too low. But like it also felt like right. So I don't know.
Okay, what's your final answer?
7.
Okay, so 8. Where can they find us, Rachel?
Oh, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at We Read It One Night. Also YouTube, but like meh. Yeah, We Read It One Night. I've been trying, but like the boomers don't really like me. I don't know. If you're on YouTube Shorts, like, hit us up. But you can also on Twitter at We Read It Pod. You can also email us at We Read It One Night with any thoughts. Or
Twitter's at We Read It Podcast.
Oh, podcast. Yeah, not pod. Sorry. And also there was something else that I was going to add.
Redbubble.
Oh yeah, merch. Heck yeah.
Buy a merch.
We gotta
my hat came in. I'll send you a picture.
Let me see. Yeah,
I got a hat.
Go get it.
It's in my room. I got a little bucket hat. We can
it.
match.
Yeah. You can also so leave us a rating and review, please, wherever, Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever. Just like hit that 5 stars. That's all you got to do.
And if you want to indicate that you're leaving a review while listening to this episode, what should you put, Rachel?
Run. Dun, 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 dun.
Put whatever run emoji.
Don't say run.
Put the run emoji.
Yeah, run emoji. Yeah, don't say run because it'll sound like run away, like from the podcast, which we don't want.
That's true.
But
run toward the podcast.
Yeah.
Run, don't walk to listen to the podcast.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes. Love it.
All right. Lovely. Godspeed, comrades.
Godspeed, comrades.